The Snyderverse, Zack Snyder, the DCEU, action. One thing I can tell you about the Zack Snyder's movies is the choreography for action is ridiculous. I was just looking at Arkham Knight, the video game version of Batman. One of the most epic scenes you'll ever see in the video games is when Batman takes on Deathstroke and Deathshot is there, and that fight choreography is ridiculous. The fluency of motion, the beauty, the almost poetic beauty of the action scenes. Zack Snyder was able to capture that in Batman v Superman, the warehouse scene with Batman. The brutality and yet the fluency of movement. I've never seen anything quite like that, to be honest with you. In no Batman movie, and probably in no acting movie per se, except for some of those martial art films, the Jet Li films, the of the 2000s, the martial art films of the 2000s, very fluent, beautiful, graceful. And what I'm saying is that has been lost in the DCEU. I watched the Patty Jenkins Wonder Woman, and except for the opening scene, which was fantabulous, I mean, the Themyscira scene was once again just a spectacle. It was a beautiful scene to watch. I don't know who choreographed it or who did it, but it's fantastic. But other than that, hey Leroy Khan, what's up, bro? Happy New Year to you. But other than that, I've looked at action scenes, whether it was in Aquaman. Aquaman wasn't too bad. Aquaman wasn't too bad. It was a little bit fantastical, but it wasn't too bad. But the action scenes, especially the rooftop scene in Aquaman, was really dope. But the action scenes in most of the DC movies at present, when I look at Shazam, I really didn't like the action scenes in there. I didn't like the action scenes in Harley Quinn. Uh, and I didn't like the action scenes in Wonder Woman. They just were fluent. And even the trailer for Batman, uh, the Batman, uh, Reeves, Nat Reeves is Batman. Don't look at it. And not all the action scenes. Some of the action scenes look really great, but what I mean by that is, Batman when he's fighting and he's punching that guy multiple times, it looks somewhat violent. It looks very contrived. It looks very false. It looks very fake. What do I mean by that? I mean, it doesn't look like somebody who really can fight or somebody who's doing it just looks violent. And I'm not really into that. I like realism. I like hyperrealism. And that's the thing I go for. When I watched Wonder Woman 84, Wonder Woman was running real weird in the desert. The desert scene, I don't know what the heck was going on there. Patty had some close-up shots. I know she's taking some of the visual effects from Superman 1978, but I mean, come on now. It gets ridiculous. Even the opening sequence in the mall was terrible, you know. Leroy Kong, long time, man. Pick a shades, what's up? I've seen Wonder Woman 84 10 times now. 8 great DCU movies, such right. I don't think of Wonder Woman 84 as a great movie. I really don't. I've only seen it once in the cinema. I laughed because of the weirdness of just the wackiness of, I mean, the real ridiculous cheese of it. It's very cheesy. I personally don't particularly care for it to see it more than once. It is designed for kids though, so kids will really enjoy it. They'll lap it up, especially kids probably ages 7 to probably 14 will really enjoy that movie because it reminds me of Nickelodeon. It reminds me of CW. It reminds me of kid shows. To be honest with you, not everything makes sense. There's magic in there, but the story itself is a very good, fitting story. It's very good. It has a very good moral story. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Yes, sir. And we are in the year of the Snyderverse, so we're looking forward to. Oh my God, Zack Snyder's Justice League. I can't wait for it. I'm fanboying out on it. Picashay says, have you seen my video of how I would make Wonder Woman 1984? Not yet, my brother. I haven't been on your channel. I've been moving around, except I was talking about boxing on my next channel, not my other channel. But yeah, but Zack Snyder does action in a way that's just fantastic. Now there are other directors I know that do action very well as well. You know, but I'm just speaking about particularly Zack Snyder, because to me Zack Snyder crosses over from just straight comic book movies, as people like to call them, into normal movies or realistic movies. Take for instance, what was the film this year? You know, even Dunkirk. You know, which has realism in it, or you know, the fighter X pilot planes, or uh, you know, a number of just normal movies. Zack Snyder seems to take that approach of a normal movie approach, but add hyper realism to it. 1 second. And his animations are really great as well. The digitized images of superheroes and stuff. Picashay says, have you, okay. Leroy Khan says, Wonder Woman 3 will be a lot better, hopefully. Hopefully. Now, I honestly feel, I don't know if Patty actually did the movie she wanted to do. I'll be honest with you. I don't believe that Shazam was the movie, for example, that I feel like all those movies were compromised. I believe Aquaman wasn't exactly the movie that James Wan wanted to do. I don't believe that Shazam was the movie that David Sanders, whatever his name is, wanted to do. I don't believe that the Harley Quinn movie came off exactly how it was supposed to be. And I don't believe that Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman came off the way exactly how she wanted it to be. I truly believe that all these directors, the studio interfered with them because they have the same stupid vibe to them, the same campy vibe to them. All of them have camp in them. All of them. All of them are trying to hit slapstick humor. All of them are trying to throw jokes. It feels like a formula. And I will say, I'm very honest with you, since Justice League, all the movies that I have seen so far that have come out seem the same kind of movie. They have the same sort of elements in them. And I just have a feeling, yeah, Birds of Prey, yeah. I just have a feeling that other than Joker, Joker was the standout. Joker was a different movie, right? Joker was a different movie. But all of them felt the same to me from since Justice League. Justice League, Aquaman felt the same. Aquaman had its unique music. Aquaman had a certain style. James Wan's rooftop scene is a fantastic scene. That's an action sequence that, I mean, James Wan knows how to do action, of course. It's just fantastic. Even some of the underwater action scenes were pretty good. But what is the moral of the story of Aquaman? You still can't tell me what it is. You know, then you go to Shazam with the, you know, 7 deadly sins or whatever it was. And again, Shazam it lacked a lot of stuff. I know it was a low budget film, but nonetheless, it lacked. Then Harley Quinn's Birds of Prey was very disappointing to me. You know, I've seen bits and pieces of Birds of Prey. I've seen bits and pieces of Shazam. Again, Shazam is a kid's movie. You could see it was a kid's movie. You could see Aquaman was geared towards, there wasn't much thinking for the movie. The movie was very simplistic, you know, but the action scenes were crazy, you know, with Atlanta, the action scene in the beginning of the movie and just so on. It's just fantastic. The action scenes were crazy. But, you know, Wonder Woman's action scenes, other than the beginning in time, Mascara, you know, I sort of enjoyed the action scene with Cheetah and Wonder Woman, you know, coming down to the end. It wasn't too bad. It was all right. But then the action scene in the desert was terrible. You know, the action scene where she was just flicking that whip and what she was gripping, clouds. What the hell she was gripping? I don't know. And she would just fly up in the air. Even her flying sequence was corny as hell. It was stiff. She looked like she was stiff in the air and stuff. And the background was terrible. It reminded me of Justice League, you know, the background. It's cheap stuff. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And you could see when the background scenes, they didn't look. Now, trust me, if that movie just had their action scenes tighter, It didn't matter how much bad the story was or how the plot was going. It would have fit so much seamlessly together. But like some people said, it felt like a movie patched together with different things. Like you could see different techniques that were being applied. And it felt very much like Justice League to me. Wonder Woman 84 felt like Justice League. Um, Now, having said all of that, the story and the moral of the story is great. It's a fantastic, it's a moral of a story that you really need. And I'm glad that again Patty Jenkins coming with a different kind of ending where the villain again is not necessarily punished. Wonder Woman is not about punishing the villain per se. She's about bringing about an eliciting truth or eliciting love. So whereas she remember in Doctor whatever it was in the first Wonder Woman movie where she killed her, she was going to kill her by throwing the tank upon her, and then she just let her go. Remember that? Well, this is consistent with that in that she let the villain go, and the villains gets to the two villains actually got to go on to another day, a sort of mercy, and I thought it was beautiful. Um, Again, some people feel that for all the wickedness that and death and mayhem that the major villain did by becoming the Wish Stone, that he should pay for his actions. I don't believe in that. I don't believe that that was necessarily how the outcome of the movie had to be. But it was just a lot of really ridiculous coincidental things that happened in the movie that you just had to go along with, because it's kind of like Aquaman. There was a lot of ridiculous stuff that happened in Aquaman, right? That made no damn sense whatsoever, and you just went along with the story because you wanted to know what the story was. And so, and it's the same thing with Shazam, and it's the same thing with Birds of Prey, and that's just not the kind of movies I can take on a daily diet. I can't even go back and watch Wonder Woman again. I can't watch it more than once. Once was enough. And I'm a single guy. I'm not a guy with kids or anything, so it didn't appeal to me as deeply as say someone who has children and could relate to their children. And there were certain emotional parts in the movie where a tear almost came from my eye. The first one was when I saw his son, and I got the background that the mother, she's with all these different men, and so this little boy, he only has his father, who kind of looks like a shell of something good. And so the father's really trying. He's sincere in his heart. When you think about the villain of this movie, he's actually a very sincere guy. He really is trying to break even. He's been researching this Wish Stone for the longest while. This is his break. This is his moment. So ultimately, at the end, you can identify, you can relate with the villain of the movie. So I'm not saying that this movie didn't have good lessons in it and shows how we can move from being a good person to an evil person, and then the transition back requires truth. And it's very relevant to now where we have a president right now that he does not see the America's greatest interest, and he's spreading a lot of lies. But the point is, and appealing to people's wishful thinking. But even so, I mean, there's a lot of depths to the movie to some degree, and it does pitch a lot of very important and relevant points. Okay. It's just the way I'm sad. It's sad for me to say it like this, but the way how it was executed, and so that people understand me very well, okay, and get my perspective on the situation. I see a lot of you guys are talking a lot of stuff. I'm gonna come back to you guys in a minute. For me, I got the story. I got what the story was saying, and it says a lot of very beautiful, wonderful things. Okay, but for the first time, I'm going to say how I would like to say it. In terms of movies and how movies appeal to me, I can understand the virtue behind the movie. There's a lot to talk about on this movie. It's positive, and I will talk about it in time. But with respect to Wonder Woman 84 and the way or manner in which Patty Jenkins chose to make certain decisions as to which direction this movie was going in, I just can't vibe with it. Okay. First of all, I'm not that big a Christopher Reeves fan. So the fact that she even went as far as to recreate the actual filmmaking process that Richard Donner. Richard Donner did, and then she was using some background screens and stuff like what Richard Donner did trying to literally emulate Richard Donner, I thought was just a little too far. Two, I don't know if it was because Jeff Johns was there with her and sort of moderating, but it looked very cheap. At certain points, it just looked like a cheap production. And maybe that's what she was going for. Maybe she was trying to work on a budget. I don't know. But the Thymoscira scene of that movie was vastly superior to just about every other scene in the movie when it came to not just action, but even the depth of storytelling and the acting that was involved, the gravitas of the situation. I know she was going for grand, but that thing just tremendously backfired in my opinion. And I just think that, the way how she approached Wonder Woman 84 with the stunt team and the choreography and all of that really, and again, Wonder Woman 84 was, I'm sorry, Wonder Woman, the very first movie, it was just how much detail they put into it that made the movie so grounded. It's the details. And okay, so example, Patty Jenkins had a great story, right? She probably pitched it and it was a great story, okay? Now, the problem with Wonder Woman, by the way, the music for Wonder Woman 84 was ridiculous. Hans Zimmer did a great job, and that was one of the reasons that roped me in to certain emotional scenes. But having said that, okay, particularly the emotional scenes with the major antagonist and his son, antagonist, protagonist, right? Beautiful scenes. Very, very much you would end up crying or you could feel very emotional about it. There was one or two scenes as well where I think the first meeting of Steve Trevor or seeing Steve Trevor and someone it had a unique sort of sound to it. And then of course, when she was letting Steve Trevor go and deciding to embrace what she had to do, I think that was a great scene as well. And again, the range of emotion and feeling by Diana was exceptionally beautiful, okay? Though sometimes the moment was very cheesy. Leroy Collins says, Bird of Prey is weak. Pick a Shade says, I have begun to notice how Jeff Johns' influence has begun to weaken down stories done by other people. Yeah, because you see, he's not really a storyteller. He's a storyteller, but when it comes to comic books, and even I would argue some of his comic book movies are not that deep. Some comic books that he does is not that deep. But he's really much better at doing comic books. He should be a resource to rely on to get information for things, but he should not be script writing, for example. He shouldn't be doing drafts of scripts. I personally don't think so. He's good with the CW. He's good with minor screen, small screen, silver screen stuff, but not Zack Snyder's Justice League would be the best of. Oh man, that's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I can't wait to see what Zack Snyder has in store. Again, so much detail. Zack's a very detailed person, and I think the blueprint. Even if you think about it, the first Wonder Woman movie, Zack told the story, and I just wished. And I know Zack is rooting for Wonder Woman 84 to do well, and Zack even said he teared up on certain things again. Gotham's death and all of that would probably trigger him to get certain emotional feelings. But what I'm saying is, because one thing about Patty Jenkins, she's very good at doing, is being very emotive. So Patty has that really great knack for pulling out of characters' emotion. So even if you have crappy action and just a ridiculous world that makes no damn sense, she can still pull out the emotion from characters, which is something that Marvel does somewhat good as well. But Patty's really, really good at it. So she can get the emotion out of you, and she can make you cry or even tear up to things you didn't think you were going to tear up about. Even when I was watching again the Thymoscira scene, I recall my heart being somewhat, I don't know, because Diana's reflecting, there's a deep sort of feeling like you are ready on the brim to cry. You always feel like you want to cry in those grand scenes. And it's because it kind of reminds me of Gladiator as well. I don't know if it's these subliminal messages probably being put into the script, but it's just a beautiful, Thymoscira is so fantastic. And I wish they would do some more on Thymoscira, but I hope they don't cheapen it up. You need to, one of the things I don't know how much research Patty Jenkins does, but I'm pretty sure she did a lot of research and she decided to go this direction. But one of the very important things I think, and kudos to Patty on pushing the fantastical realm in a cinematic universe where magic and fantasy is not ridiculously pushed like that. But then again, Shazam was pushed like that as well. But here's the thing I want to say. Sandberg, I think it's Dave Sandberg. My thing with this is, she pushed it in the movie, and so when she pulled back, the ridiculousness didn't seem as ridiculous. But I just want to say that for me personally, watching these movies, I could do with less of the ridiculousness and more of the grounding. I think what made Wonder Woman such a great movie, in my opinion, was that everyone, including myself, was able to watch the movie and truly enjoy it. And it was pure. It was a very pure movie. There was a lot of symbolism around it. And even though there was a little bit of humor in there, it didn't overshadow the movie. This movie is as ridiculous as it looks. I mean, this is a movie I call presumptuous. This is a presumptuous movie because it presumes a whole different reality to the world that we were in. So the first time we saw Wonder Woman, it was in Batman v Superman, which was a very grounded reality. The second time we saw Wonder Woman was in Wonder Woman, which it was a historical piece, and it felt and played like a historical piece. So it felt like she was in our world. In Wonder Woman 84, Wonder Woman was not in our world. Wonder Woman is in the imagination of Richard Donner's world back in the 80s. That's the difference. And that choice that Patty Jenkins did to pay complete tribute to Richard Donner unapologetically was one in which I just couldn't. I literally started laughing every time I saw something, because for me, that was a little too much. That was going a little too far, and I think a lot of people didn't appreciate it, especially that we're in the year 2020, and I see what she was doing. She was very deliberate about it, intentional about it. But it's almost as if Patty was saying, I want to Marvelize this fucking universe. And that's the last thing we want. We don't want a Marvelized universe. At least I don't. Maybe some people do, okay? I get what she was trying to do, but it just, no. And the thing about it was somewhat edgy as well, because if you think about what Patty Jenkins' choices were, they were very edgy choices, like sleeping with some guy that you don't even know. The edginess of someone who defends and doesn't want to see the death of a villain who's going to kill everyone, but yet because she's attached and has a relationship to this guy, that would be Cheetah, she ends up saying, no, don't try to kill him, right? And so she picks sides. Now, Cheetah was helping, of course, Diana, as we all know, to try and track down the Wish Stone. So she was, and it's just very interesting how the story goes and the development of the characters. And again, like I said before, the story itself is a fantastic story if you think about it. It's just not, I believe, Patty's choices in how to flush out the story and just ignore a whole set of very important information goes along the lines of a kid's story. In a kid's story, certain things just don't count. Okay, it don't matter, right? So that's why I said this film seemed to be designed more towards kids and teaching values to children. I feel like Patty decided, all that information is not so important. Okay, yeah, we need to take a plane and fly down across there. But the real important thing is what is going on in the head of what's going on in the head of Maxwell Lord. What's going on in his mind? Now he's become the Wish Stone. Now he understands there's a trade-off. If you have a wish, I got to get something for it. So he starts talking like the Wish Stone, because the Wish Stone was doing that all along. Remember, Diana and Dr. Nirvana, they both had made wishes with the Wish Stone before the Wish Stone became Maxwell Lord, right? So the Wish Stone took something from them. right? Because it's a god that made this wish stone, which operated a certain way. Anyways, so here's what happened, and what happened when 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 Maxwell Lord wished he was the wish stone. Remember, he had to pay for that in some sort of way, and in that way, the wish stone had taken his soul or something. Because remember, he wished to become the wish stone, so it took his soul, and now he had to take other souls to be able to stay young and be the wish stone. So that was what happened in the movie, and again, very intriguing concept. Okay, the problem with it was, like I said before, with Wonder Woman 84, why I didn't like it. I think particularly the action. If the action had been executed better and thought out a little bit more, I felt like they rushed. They said, you know what, okay, the major point is this. So the things that they really wanted to focus on, they focused on in the movie, and then all the things was like, goop-de-ga, who cares? Put it down, whatever. But this is the important thing. Make it look good and goop-de-ga. And so Patty wasn't really interested so much in the action scenes, which is probably why she didn't recruit the same crew to do the action scenes. But what I was trying to explain, I wanted people to understand is, you want to have everything done well. You want details and everything to get everybody. I don't know what was the constraints on Patty. I don't know what the budget was for Patty. I don't know what was going on with Patty in the background, but I do feel there was studio interference in the movie still. I feel the studio was able to water down her movie. I feel Patty had more she wanted to do in that movie. I just get that feeling. And, but nonetheless, I really love the story of the movie, right? And bottom line, the take-home message, this movie has a take-home message. Aquaman, not so much. Aquaman showed you that he was growing into the hero, and then he had also, Aquaman had mercy, and that the criminal, again, the criminal, the guy who was doing all the rebellion and everything, he gets to go to prison, but he didn't get killed. So Aquaman followed in the line of Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, all right, was the first one to do that. Then Aquaman, oh, actually Justice League did the same thing too, because Justice League, Steppenwolf wasn't killed, right? He just went back through the boom tube. So Steppenwolf wasn't killed. He was consumed. He was being consumed by the parademons. So you see the trend that I'm talking about. I feel like the studio interference. I think Jeff Johns is involved in this, where he's not killing off the main characters. Take, for example, first you have Wonder Woman. Then you had Justice League. Then you had Aquaman. Then you had Shazam. Even in Shazam, the 7 deadly sins, they're contained and removed, but the major villain's not killed. Let's see, Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn, though, in Birds of Prey, the main villain is killed, right? And then now we have Wonder Woman. It's just very interesting to me. If this is the direction that DC is going in, it doesn't really appeal to me. And that's why I was saying to you guys, I'm not really hyped on Wonder Woman 3 now. If that's the direction that Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot are going in, that's for kids. I prefer not to watch that stuff, okay? Spare me it. I am interested in movies in which I, as an adult, can go into the cinema. There's no kids around me. I have no kids in my life. And I can enjoy it and translate it on to other people. And it's nice when a film has a universal theme that gaps, that covers an ambit of people. It's very hard to do, and Patty Jenkins pulled it off, and it was the perfect combination with Patty Jenkins, Zack Snyder, Jeff Johns was even involved in it, and the choreography, the action scenes and stuff were well put together. It was a well-knit film, and it had a unique message in it that allowed for this movie to go that far. And people discuss it to this day. With Wonder Woman 84, it is a unique story in many respects. I heard that it was actually supposed to be something else. This is what I heard. There's rumors going around It was supposed to involve a lot more than it originally had. So again, I think Patty didn't really necessarily get the original idea she wanted to do, and there was some compromises that had to be done, which is sad. Anyway, so but was Wonder Woman treated correctly? Did Wonder Woman show up in this movie very well? I would say yes. Was represented quite well. Richard Donner or Richard Lester, the guy who replaced Donner as the director of Superman 2. Richard Donner. It wasn't just Superman 2, it was Superman as well. Patty Jenkins wrote the story for Wonder Woman 84 with guest Jeff Johns. Patty Jenkins wrote the story for Wonder Woman 84 with Jeff Johns. Yeah, I think she also worked along with Jeff Johns in Wonder Woman, the very first one. But Zack Snyder had done the story. In this case, I think this was Patty's story, and she did say she wanted to do the Invisible Jet. And again, suspension of reality, yes, but there is precedent. For example, Wonder Woman in the Wonder Woman movie, she was manipulating lightning, right? Because Zeus is her father. So she manipulated lightning, and somehow, some way, she made the jet become invisible. I'm not sure how, and nobody explains, and Patty Jenkins doesn't care. Because what? In Wonder Woman's realm, there's magic, right? They introduced magic with Shazam. Okay, Aquaman had some little bit of magic and stuff too. So they just stick with that. Aquaman was a visual spectacle, though. That's the one thing about Aquaman. Not necessarily, again, it wasn't the visual spectacle like Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder covers every base. So he covers the metaphysics. He'll cover metaphysics, spirituality. He covers hyperrealism. Zack Snyder's really the most complete director I've ever met when it comes to comic book movies. He really covers every single facet, and he really takes his time, puts a movie together. So that's why the Snyder Cut is going to be one of the greatest comic book movies ever. We already know this. And if the spectacle is as great as Raised by Wolves or greater than that, because HBO's content is premium, I hope that he puts it out in IMAX. And I hope to God it comes down to our IMAX in my country so I can go watch it multiple times. I got to get my eyes healed up even more so I can see that thing in as great, sharp quality as possible. I really want to go and watch that thing multiple times because I know Zack Snyder's movies are great. Okay, they're great stuff. I mean, I'm so amped to see that director's cut of the movie. I'm so freaking amped. Oh man, I fanboy out with everything that Zack puts out there. I saw the Wonder Woman coming down the shaft of the I don't know what you call that thing. The Glenn coming at Steppenwolf, coming downwards, falling down upon him. It's just. The action scenes are crazy. Now I know Zack is an underrated dramatic director. He's really into the drama part of the thing. But what I like about Zack is his takes are unique. Again, Patty Jenkins' take on Wonder Woman was unique. It's just that, I think people like myself, and so you got a lot of people who were hypercritical of the movie. And the reason they were hypercritical because they didn't understand what kind of genre of movie it was. It wasn't just a comic book movie. It was a fantasy, drama, adventure film. That's what Wonder Woman 84 was. It was not a hyper-realistic adventure action film like Zack Snyder's films. Okay? So it's a different kind of film. All right. And different directors have different ways of taking their takes. And the thing that really got me was that it started off just like freaking Wonder Woman, and then all of a sudden out of the clear blue sky, it caught me off guard. Just a freakishly outlandish out there acting. It was like overacting where the criminals were just overacting everything. And it reminded me of Superman 1978, Superman 1982. The overacting and just the melodramatic behavior, which reminded me that these criminals, and this is how bad guys used to behave. If you grew up watching, some of y'all are not as old as I am, Knight Rider, Street Hawk, A-Team, Airwolf. These are some films in the 80s, and the criminals were melodramatic. In fact, Batman 1989, melodramatic. Who are you? I'm Batman. Tell your friends about me. It was just very melodramatic, okay? So, it's particularly how Hans Zimmer took the music and everything went out, but it was just so hilarious. I couldn't help myself. I was cracking up in the cinema. I was losing my stuff, laughing, and I guess it was supposed to be slightly hilarious. Everything was just over exaggerated, and and then they had the kid in there, and the kid was laughing and stuff. So you know, that was out there. That was just it was wacky, and that's the way how that's the way how hold on a second. That's the way how what's his name? Richard Donner films are. Richard Donner films were like that. You know, Superman 1978. Everybody was like, oh my god, oh my god, and people scream and right. So it was melodramatic, and that's just so Patty recreated that time because it's Wonder Woman in 1984. And it was just very interesting watching that stuff on the big screen. Patty Jenkins, okay. Damian Anton Visit says, good day, Anson. Good day to you, Damian. What's up, brother? Hashtag the Snyder Cut. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse. 100%, brother. 100%. Picochet says, Maxwell Lord was never a Wonder Woman villain, by the way. People only connect him to Diana because she was the one who killed him in the 2005's OMAC project storyline. Yes, with Batman and Superman and stuff. Well, actually, Maxwell Lord was a Wonder Woman villain, but anyway. I was, by the way, preparing to record voiceover for my BVS Unbiased Review Part 3 video when you started the stream. Oh, my bad. Well, I didn't know I was going to be doing that. I've been sitting here on my computer with the microphone ready to begin while listening to you. But Damian Anton Visitor says the mall scene was trash. Again, I can see it from many different perspectives, so I understand. I get what the movie was. You see, I understood what the intentions of the director of the movie was. I feel what the movie was. So I understand what Patty Jenkins was going for and why she did that opening scene the way she did. All you have to do is take that opening scene, take the scene with Superman where Lois, when she came off the rooftop scene of the Daily Planet and the helicopter, failed or whatever and started falling and she fell out the helicopter. Think about how everybody behaved there. And that's the same kind of scene, okay? Except Wonder Woman's now leaping and coming in and just leaping in. And now we didn't get the super speed of Wonder Woman because what I would have suggested was Patty Jenkins use the super speed of Wonder Woman in those images, in those instances. Because, and then maybe even people would see her like a blur. So nobody, the cameras, nothing could pick up what she did because she was moving so fast. So her super speed, we didn't see any of that, right? So, Patty Jenkins' imagining of a recreation of Superman 1 and Superman 2. This is what she was basically, her material or resource material coming from. And of course, Jeff Johns, having worked with Richard Donner, would have that beautiful take. And Patty Jenkins, a big Richard Donner fan, big Superman fan. She was trying to recreate that, and she did. To the most part, to the T. I mean, that's exactly how Richard Donner probably would have done something like that. So the only thing, it's very dated. What I'm saying by that is, we have so much technology and stuff that I wasn't quite sure why Patty would just directly recreate something like that from the 80s. And for somebody watching it in 2020, looking back at something that was made, back in the 80s, I don't know how many of you guys were born in the 80s, but um, bad guys had a certain stick to them, they and they had the bad guy mug, and you knew they were up to evil. Oh my god, it was just really funny. So the bad guy was a bad guy, and the good guy was a good guy. It was very obvious. There was no nuance to it, and especially in the television series and stuff. And if you've ever watched Wonder Woman, same thing. There was the head guy, the head honcho. He had nuance to him, but everybody else, the goons didn't have no. Yeah, boss. What you saying, boss? They were just goonish, just straight up goonish. And so the mall scene in Wonder Woman 84, which is very interesting because malls are no longer like how malls are now. It's kind of so very dated, very periodic piece, very period piece. And then the shooting and just the movie making was period as well. It's like Patty Jenkins went all in on the period of 84. She said, listen, if we're going to do this Richard Donner thing, we're going to use methods like what Richard Donner did. We're going to create the scenes like how Richard Donner would do it. We're going all in on Richard Donner. The weird little cuts, the little errors, the little mistakes, the background scenes where the kind of background's moving at a different speed to the foreground. She decided she was going to use the creative approach of Richard Donner. She went all in on Richard Donner, and she said, you know what, Jeff Johns, I'm going all in on Richard Donner in this one. So that's what she did. It was very intentional. I was cracking up about it. It was funny to me. So the story, though, is layered somewhat, but it doesn't make, how do I put this? The major skeletal structure of the story, the important parts of the story link the story together. Almost like Aquaman. Aquaman is linked by things that shouldn't link it together. There's just a lot of haphazard, crazy things. But then Aquaman's, as a comic, is a crazy comic. For those who know Aquaman is a crazy comic. There's there are different versions of Aquaman. One of them is Aquaman with a hook, and it's a crazy comic. Harley Quinn movie. Harley Quinn's a crazy character. Mind thinks crazy. So the movie, it's allowed to move along a sort of haphazard sort of thing and just be linked together by these chains. Same thing with Suicide Squad. With Wonder Woman, what Patty Jenkins did was she just forgot all the details. She didn't care. Hey, we need a plane to fly to Cairo, Egypt. She didn't care how they got the access to the plane. The important thing was the journey with Steve and with Diana, because Steve tells Diana things she would use later on in the story so that she could take flight. She could be free of her loads, both mentally and also physically. So, that was the key point. Like, Patty didn't care how they flew there. Just make sure they get in the plane and fly across, right? She didn't care about the details. Which is why, and why this was important is because she doesn't really care. The movie is not about trying to emulate or be focused on realism. So if you're looking for realism in this movie, you're going to miserably disappointed, because the mall scene sets the tone for what kind of movie it's going to be. Themyscira scene sets the tone for what story it's going to tell. It gives you it gives you a summary of what the story is, the Themyscira scene. And that's realistic, even though it's fantasy. It's realistic and grounded in some realism. The mall scene gives you the tone of the movie, and it goes ridiculously into fantasy. There's nothing realistic about the mall scene, okay? Nothing. Don't try to make sense of it. Think of it like a child would think of it. Oh, look at that, she saved them! Wow! But I don't know who she is. Look, she just think like a 5-year-old, think like a 7-year-old, think like a 9-year-old, a 14-year-old. Oh, she cut off the cameras. Nowadays, we don't. If you think like an adult, this did make no goddamn sense. Why did she cut the cameras? They have a recording. What does that mean? You know, right? So don't try to make sense of it. Just go with the story. If you don't go with the story, you are going to be like, this is some and you just lose. But if you're somebody who's trying to understand the story of a film, understand what the film, how the film is flowing and stuff, it makes sense, right? And for me, I was just tracking it, following the story. I kind of, because for me, when I'm watching a movie, I'm not watching have a person tell me a movie. I'm watching the movie, and I want to know what the movie's saying. Okay, and this movie was talking about to be a genuine person of character. It's all about character. You cannot skip and cheat steps. You cannot. All of us wish for things to be better, right? And that's what Maxwell Lord was playing on. It can always be better. You can always have more. And he actually believed that. He actually believed that. So when there was no oil in his oil sites and land, he had been wishing for oil. And he was trying to find a way. And that's how entrepreneurs think. You try to always find a way. And he found the way. And he knew it would be a reality. But the way that he found had a cost to it. And so while he thought he had figured it out, he hadn't. But it was brilliant that he wanted to be the wish stone. That was brilliant as well in the movie. And so there was a lot of brilliant things in the movie. Don't get me wrong. Right? I followed the movie. I followed the story. And the punchline of the story is what? You can't blossom and prosper in lies. You cannot cheat steps. That's what the initial opening scene was all about. Because Diana took a shortcut, she missed the flag. She missed shooting her arrow through and a critical step in the progression. And what Antiope told her was, you're not ready yet. And then her mother came to her and said, don't worry, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And you will develop. And what happened? What happened? Let's think about it. Let's think about the story a little bit. The goal was to get the golden armor, right? She ends up getting the golden armor on Earth. Then we get the story behind this noble, honorable warrior that gave herself to protect the Amazons and push back the forces of man long enough for them to escape. And she was an honorable warrior. But honor cannot be gotten by lies. This is what Diana's saying. It comes from truth. And so this is why they introduced with the lasso. The lasso had all kinds of different features, but the lasso now shows that you can see truth by touching it. It's not just that it can make you speak the truth, but they added this additional element where you can see truth. And it is that. Don't try to reason it out because it makes no sense. Just go with the story. It is because she lassoed Maxwell Lord's leg. She was able to speak truth into his transmission of lies. She was able to converse to the people as a conduit through the lasso, through Maxwell Lord, who was the Wishstone. She was in contact with Mr. Maxwell through the Wishstone, and so he was able to conduct the truth with the lies. And in so doing, he also himself saw the truth, because the reverse of the Wishstone, which tells you a lie and allows you to get a shortcut, was the lasso of truth. So that was the key in this movie. And the bottom line is, when you see the truth, or when you have the truth in front of you, now you can be honorable. Now you can go through the entire process. Now you don't cheat the process. So that's why they renounced their wishes. People renounce their wishes, at least those who are alive. Some died. I wish you would die. Anyway. So that's when the people renounced their wishes on seeing the truth, because it was a shortcut. And so the bottom line of this movie was a very important one for kids. It has a very solid uh, solid moral foundation for children. This is something we should be teaching our children, and it's good to see a movie teaching children morals. And that's the one beautiful thing about Wonder Woman. Unlike any other comic book movie I know out there, this movie teaches children morals. You know, I thought about also, this one was a little bit more murky, but Civil War, where they were trying to show that revenge is not the answer, right? It was a little bit more murky, but it kind of built a little bit more sophisticated. This movie was, I would think, a lot more deeper, though. It was a lot more emotive and deeper than Civil War, but Civil War obviously was much more grounded than this movie. So what you have to understand is, with movies, you can't get tripped up and caught up in the mechanics of a movie. The first thing you want to know is, what is this movie giving me? What is this movie telling me? What am I feeling? And so that's the best way to give a fair account and a fair critical account of a movie. Obviously, this movie is not as good as Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie, which I think has more universal appeal, no matter what style, genre of movie you like. This one appeals specifically to a specific audience, I think. Families who have children, parents and children, would more relate to this movie, I think, than a single person like myself, or a couple. Even though it does have these romantic notions in it of someone trying to grab on to their wish, something they don't want to release it. You see the hesitancy to let go, because like in any addiction, you have a hesitancy to let go, right? Something that comforts you. But what you notice with Maxwell Lord is, the more he wished, the more he got more things of power, was the more problems he had. And the more chaotic things got. And the bottom line of it is, once he renounced his wish, once people renounced their wishes, what happened? Well, once he renounced his wish, everybody else's wishes generally would be renounced, except for Minerva and Diana, who actually made wishes on the stone, not on Maxwell Lord. And with Minerva, the catch-22 was, she made a wish with the stone, and then Maxwell Lord became the stone. So that was a separate sort of entity, and so she was able to make an additional wish. When he renounced his wish, her wish was renounced, pretty much, even though Diana's asking, well, let's not go into that because it could get murky again. But suffice it that Diana was trying to get people not to accept the wishes. And then when finally Maxwell Lord renounced his wish, that's when everything just went backwards. So it didn't really matter if the people made wishes or not. Who went through Maxwell Lord? The people who didn't go through Maxwell Lord was Minerva and Diana. Minerva, when Maxwell Lord renounced his wish, went back into Minerva. Now, did Minerva renounce her wish? I don't know. The movie never says. But we know Diana renounced her wish. So one of the two people did renounce their wish. We don't know if Minerva renounced her wish. So in the story, you have to understand that it's a choice people have to make constantly in these movies. And that's what makes these movies so interesting. So the story of Wonder Woman is I went with it, and it was great. It was fantastic. It was, to me, action scenes, I think, was what I was more critical of, because I understood what Patty Jenkins was doing. I understood where she was going. She had told us a long time ago she was a big Richard Donner fan. She was a big Superman fan. So it's not too strange to see her going full campy, full ham, Superman, just full tribute to Richard Donner like that. It's not really surprising, but a little bit disappointing for me because the action scenes, I think if she had executed those action scenes a lot better, it definitely would have taken away from the absolute, devaluation of certain moments in the movie, because certain moments of the movie really counted for a certain degree of grounded realism to give that feeling of loss. I think that some of the dramatical scenes, for example, where Diana is now having to renounce her wish with, concerning Steve Trevor, I think that scene could have been a lot more impactful had they grounded it a little bit more in reality. Because when the gentleman had said, "I wish," he said, "I wish you would drop down and die," and the woman started going, "Ah, ah." It was more comical, which is in line with the campy Richard Donner model, than it was something that was supposed to make you cringe and supposed to make you feel an impact by it. And then there was people crashing in the streets and the cars and all, just a lot of chaos and confusion out there. And that chaos and confusion was hilarious more than it was, to me, it was hilarious more than it was something which was graphically disastrous, like what happened in Man of Steel. So that the impact of it, see, when you reduce impact for humor, that is where you compromise a movie. And because the idea behind it is a Marvel formula, is you want to have the humor in these tragic scenes to make them more palatable for the audience. But sometimes, look at Wonder Woman. When there was death, there was death. When the city was bombed, or should I say, it was gassed. It was a horrific experience where Wonder Woman went in to see all these people dead. It's a horrific experience, and for somebody like Wonder Woman who feels so much for people and has so much love, I thought they would capture those moments in these scenes. This is just my thoughts on the matter. This is me. So I'm not telling Patty Jenkins how to direct a film. However she wants to direct the film is fine by me. If that was her idea, to keep it, campy like, and just like how in 1978 Superman was, when the world was, all the earthquakes and the buses almost crashing and stuff, and all the craziness and mayhem was happening, but some of it is not, you're not deeply feeling the impact of it. Fine. But she should understand that there's a trade-off for that. Sometimes the dramatic moments, as much as you put the best sort of music behind it, Hans Zimmer did an excellent job with these, especially certain songs that were just great. One was, I think it was Letting Go or something was the name of the song. It was just fantastic. Actually, was listening to this track. I see one song is still playing in my mind. It goes, dun, dun, dun. Anyway, I can hear the song in my head. It's just so memorable. But I think that was something, because it's how you approach your stuff, because I understand what the meat and bones I got of the movie. I got the meat and bones. Fantastic. But I felt that for me, I can't speak for anyone else. For me, a bit of, and some of the movie, a lot of the movie was pretty solemn, but still, the world that you built it around, this fantastical world of an imagination of Richard Donner from the 1970s and the 1980s, I thought it just was not relatable to me. I had a difficulty relating to it. And I grew up watching that world in movies and television. Okay. Ricochet says, yeah, I made a video talking about that in my comparative review of Superman 1978 and Man of Steel. David Anton Vista says, nah, since Lewis' reaction in Superman 1989 was a natural response to being caught. Wonder Woman 84 malacting scene was forced. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people's reaction when the helicopter was falling down. And yeah, it was somewhat organic, don't get me wrong. But the people were screaming and yelling and shrieking and just being melodramatic, and it's very funny. It was more funny than it was serious. Picochet says, I remember the villains in the 90s Lewis and Clark TV show have been portrayed kind of like they were petty little children who were cranky for not getting things done their way. Yeah, something like that. But I grew up in the 70s and 80s. So in the 80s, especially women on TV screens, they would scream. It was like melodramatic. You guys got to see it, man. It's so funny. You guys go by and look back at that and be like, whoa, that's so funny. They love it. There was always some woman screaming something. Picochet said, yeah, I remember the Lasso having that feature in some comic I once read. Okay, cool. Having recently made a comparative review of Superman 1978 and Man of Steel, I feel like I need to say that the camp element came to the Superman movies after Richard Lester took over from Donner. Nope. The Richard Donner movies had camp like crazy, man. Like crazy. Richard Donner always had camp in his movies, but even though Superman, I think Superman, the long extended version of Superman 1978 was actually, it started off pretty serious on Krypton. Ricochet said in the research I made for the video, I learned that Donner was replaced with Lester because Donner wanted to make straight movies rather than camp. Yep, that is true. I think he wanted it to be much more serious tone. And Warner Brothers, I don't know what is wrong with Warner Brothers. To this day, Warner Brothers likes camp. I don't get it. You know, they like jokes. And I'm like, why? What is your problem? You know? And to this day, they just constantly try to get campy, jokey films. And they really don't do, they suck with that. They suck with that. You know, Marvel already does that to start with. Why do you need to have everything as a joke? What is your problem? You know, they've been continuously fighting the creative artists over this. We're going to have, you're going to have The Batman. The Batman's a serious movie, right? That's what it looks like to me. And to me, that's a good thing. Okay, that's a good thing. We need to have films that sort of appeal to adult minds. You know, Tim Burton's Batman was dark. It had a little bit of humor and stuff in it, but it was a dark movie. Christopher Nolan's Batman movie has always been dark. You look at all the successful movies. Man of Steel wasn't a dark movie, but it was a solid movie. It was a serious movie. You know what I mean? These movies do well because they do well. Batman v Superman as well, even though it wasn't the version that we now all come to appreciate and have. Batman v Superman was a fantastic movie. You know, you look at Raised by Wolves, you know, Ridley Scott's movie. Great movie, you know, great series on HBO Max. This is the stuff I want to see. I don't want to see some jokey thing. I'm too old for that shit. Life is, you know, things have happened. Life has happened. So I don't want to just be hee ha ha and all over the place. You know what I mean? And for some reason, Warner Brothers seems to be pushing this issue. They've been pushing it since Wonder Woman became a success. And Wonder Woman was not a hee hee ha ha movie. It wasn't. It was a serious movie. It had some jovial moments, but it was a serious movie grounded in reality. And he just can't get it. So they went with Justice League. They screwed that up. They gave it Aquaman, more hee hee ha ha moments. It had great action scenes that kind of saved it, but the story was flimsy. It was a whimsical story. It had absolutely almost nothing in it. Okay, you know what? Aquaman matured, and the two brothers, they finally get together, and they're trying to read. I don't know what the hell it was. Aquaman didn't have really much of anything going for it. The story was weak, and then we had Shazam. Shazam's story was about working together as a team, right? And embracing who you are, right? And then, of course, seeing why the 7 deadly sins prosper and why working together as a team would taught that. I mean, all right. Then we had Harley Quinn. Working together as a team again. All right, so we get past that, and we seen all that back in the days of Suicide Squad, right? After that, we have Wonder Woman 84. And Wonder Woman 84 brings, you know, something different to the table. But again, the story's pretty weak. Okay, it's basic, and you can see these movies are designed for kids, and they don't give a damn about adults. They don't want to have a serious tone. They want the CW to be you know, Walter Hamada and Tommy Emmerich and Jeff Johns and John Berg and folks like that. Even Patty Jenkins to some degree, they're pushing for these cinematic movies to be Nickelodeon. They want Nickelodeon shit. They want CW shit. They want Marvel shit. That's what they want. They think they're going to drive in big numbers that way. And no matter how much the fan base tells them that doesn't work, they keep on pushing it. They keep on pushing it. They need to get the toys done, and they need to get this and that, and merchandise. And I'm like, and Wonder Woman will be the key to that. And then you put out a Wonder Woman 2, and it's not as good as Wonder Woman 1. It isn't. It backfires because, one, they're appealing to a narrow demographic, thinking that they're appealing to a mass of people, a majority of people. You're appealing to a narrow demographic. You know, and they're going to do it with the Flash movie, and they're going to do it with Suicide Squad. Who did they pick for Suicide Squad? What's the guy's name? I forgot his name. Right? The guy who did Guardians of the Galaxy. They have people who just, all they're doing is comedy. Nobody gives a damn about comedy. People, especially now, nobody cares about comedy. If I want to go see comedy, I just watch Comedy Club. Somebody tell jokes. We want something that's relevant, meaningful, and something that we could say, oh yes, I can apply this. At least Patty Jenkins, the thing that she says is that's a moral that children can apply. The movie should have been called Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey instead of Birds of Prey, says Picker Shades. And the unnecessary long subtitle, including Harley Quinn. The Birds of Prey IP has suffered a lot because of that movie. Yeah, well, you know, it's because, again, Warner Brothers seems to constantly miscalculate and miss the boat on what they should do. And I think HBO Max is going to lead the way and show them that you can do high-quality films, you can do high-quality movies, and that Warner Brothers hallmark and their standard should be high-quality whatever they're doing. You know, and you need to follow along. So Jeff Johns, since I know him since the Green Lantern debauchery, he's constantly run down. When you give him the creative control, when it comes to the big screen, he does not know how to get stuff that really sticks. He doesn't understand that. You know, he's good with the small screen, with the CW and stuff, which I don't watch. Okay, some people do. Some people watch Supergirl. Supergirl actually had. When I first started watching Supergirl, I was actually defending it, and I was saying, "Hey, this is cool. The first time I'm seeing a woman portrayed on television as a hero and strong, and you know, really have it together." And I thought it was really cool. And I watched, I think, one season of it, and then I was just done with it because you know, it got where it is. You know? But it was revolutionary for the time, and I remember it was on CBS, and I remember a lot of people were bad talking, and I was looking at it like, hey, it's kind of unique. I like it. Now, Supergirl is all right, but I don't watch it. I don't watch nothing on the CW, okay? There are people who watch the CW. There are people who are big DC fans, and they watch everything DC. And more power to you. That's just not my thing. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying this is not my thing. That's okay. You enjoy. You have fun. That's not my thing. Damien Anton Vincent says Jeff Johns is the worst. Look, he's a fantastic comic book writer. You can't take that away from him. All right? I think his role as a resource or consultant for DC Films was a good idea. He should never have been promoted to over DC Films. And the way how he conducted himself in DC, I remember the rumors that he was trying to, you know, sabotage Zack Snyder. It really came to light. He apparently did a horrible job of portraying Justice League in the right light under his leadership and John Byrne's leadership. And I mean, his legacy is this slate of films from um, he basically sabotaged Aquaman. Somehow he didn't fully sabotage Wonder Woman. So he and Patty got along pretty good there. Patty generally gets along good with everybody. And then he just screwed over Justice League. And then Aquaman, he still messed with Aquaman, as we all know. It's on record. He wanted Black Manta in there. I don't know what else he wanted in there, but I'm sure he messed around with Aquaman quite a lot. And then he messed around with Shazam and Birds of Prey and now Wonder Woman. Okay, that's his legacy. His legacy is that slate of films that did not, in my opinion, none of them did exceptionally well. Aquaman did well, but I never rewatched Aquaman. I watched it once. I didn't even see it in the cinema. I watched it once, and that was it. I didn't watch it again. I don't think I even watched the entire movie ever. And the point behind it is that those movies just do not appeal to people like myself. And there's a lot of people like myself who, when you say comic book movie, it doesn't mean it has to be shit. It can be something like Split was a comic book movie. Unbreakable was a comic book movie. Glass was a comic book movie, right? I just wanted to go through the trilogy there. To me, I enjoyed those things. I enjoyed the crap out of those movies. Blade was a comic book movie. That's an old one, But I'm trying to show you, even, and I'm gonna put it in there. Even Black Panther was a comic book movie. Now it was more Marvelish, more childish to some degree, but it still had a very good theme at the end of it. You know what I mean? Those are the kinds of things I like in comic book movies. The CGI wasn't that great, but those are the things. You ask me about meaningful comic book movies, this is what I'm talking about. Comic book movies that stand the test of time. Pretty sure that Wonder Woman 84 will not stand the test of time. Picashay says, I went through the first season of Batwoman only to make that video about it being a character assassination. I think most DC shows now have been made just to make them as products because they do not have almost any passion behind them. I agree. Supergirl has been called a girl version of Superman mostly because she's not portrayed as the comic book Supergirl, but rather as a girl version of Superman. Yep, correct. That is correct. And, it's what it is. I mean, there's supposed to be unique qualities and abilities in each of these characters, and they've been lost. And that's what I liked about Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder would take the mythology of the character. He would also take the comic book history of the character, and he would give you what, in essence, the character is. He would be able to isolate the essence of the character. And that's what Wonder Woman did. Wonder Woman isolated the essence of what Wonder Woman was. When you saw Wonder Woman in the movie, you knew what she was. Wonder Woman 84 didn't really crystallize much about Wonder Woman. It spoke about values, which was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. But it never elucidated anything more about Wonder Woman, even though it used Wonder Woman as one of the principal protagonists to illustrate what he wanted to say, which I thought was a great movie. Again, it had a moral basis, which I thought was fantastic. But it's just that I'm thinking that still is not crystallizing something new about Wonder Woman. Yeah, you get her power. She's flying. She's free. She's freed of her past and whatever. But at the same time, what did we learn more about Wonder Woman through this movie? Nothing. Effectively nothing. I just thought I would just bring that to your attention. And Zack Snyder's not like that. He would elucidate something a little bit more. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see what the Snyder Cut brings to the table. I remember Patty Jenkins saying, well, there's no Snyder Cut. There's no Snyder Cut. I remember Patty Jenkins saying that. And I can see why she would have said that. But her movie has come out before the Snyder Cut. So she doesn't have to worry about anything. And the great thing about it is her movie came out as a test pilot for HBO Max. And a lot of people watched Wonder Woman 84 multiple times on HBO Max. And a lot of people have seen it. and it's done relatively well given that the COVID environment is out there. It did better than Chris, that was his name, Christopher Nolan's film, and Christopher Nolan's film should have done well, but it didn't. So at the end of the day, this is what I got to say about that. Zack Snyder is my number one and greatest director ever. I hope that he is more involved in Wonder Woman 3. I think he'll be as a producer or executive producer, and it's already been greenlit, so they're going to push for Wonder Woman 3 movie. If Patty Jenkins is not doing the Star Wars movie, if she's not doing any of the movies, she probably will go back to Wonder Woman 3. But obviously, I get the feeling that Warner Brothers doesn't know what they're doing. The picture studios, Warner Brothers Media, they're much more consistent and so on. The studio itself, they don't seem to know what they're doing. So, when Patty Jenkins found out that she was going to be on HBO Max, all of a sudden at the last minute, it was like, what the fuck? Okay. So she agreed on it. But she didn't like how they were, as much as directors were, being creative and whatever, they just kind of come up with things out of the clear blue sky and just drop it on you. Like there's no, and then all the other directors, Christopher Nolan, all these guys, who work with Warner Brothers all the time, they were like, what the hell? So now my stuff, the HBO Max, what's going on here? Like they didn't, because Christopher Nolan, if he could have put his movie on HBO Max, because his movie was a great movie. It was a great conceptual movie. I haven't seen it yet, but it could have been put on HBO Max, But I hope that great directors like Christopher Nolan, Patty Jenkins, and these guys, that they would be able to get their movies out into theaters this year. That this COVID would just, be dealt with appropriately. By the way, I had something worse than COVID last night. I had reflux that choked me up. I couldn't breathe. I was changing temperature and all kinds of crazy things. Yeah, something worse than COVID. So you can have the immune system intact. I'm still suffering side effects from it. I can still feel the pain and the gas down in the lower part of my abdomen. So I'm going to catch you guys later. Let me see what you guys are saying on the last thing here, because I've been talking for a very good minute. I got to get something to eat. Lee Kong says Tenet is a great movie. I need to go see Tenet. I heard it was great. All right, people. So this is all I got to say for now. I will be streaming hopefully tomorrow, or if not tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. I will stream something, and then we can talk at length about Wonder Woman 84 with the good, the bad, the ugly of it. There is a lot of good in it. There was a lot of promise in that movie. And I truly believe that, as I assess the movie and I think about it, I had a good time. I'll tell you that. The movie was a good time in the cinema. By feedback, I mean comments. Okay. Sure. So I will be streaming on, what's this platform? I forgot what the name of it is. A streaming service where you guys could hop on and you could talk on the streaming service about Wonder Woman 84, what you like, what you didn't like, so you can hash it out. And but like I said before, if you put it in a certain context, it makes sense what it was Patty Jenkins was doing. I didn't agree with it. It's not my cup of tea, right? My personal taste. I can't say that it was a bad movie, because in the context of what it's a fantasy, adventure, drama movie, in the context of that, then she can break rules it's pretty much like what Aquaman did. Aquaman broke rules. People were talking underwater. They've never seen that before, right? So Aquaman was a fantasy, so it broke a lot of rules, and it didn't really follow physics or anything. And I mean, you just roll with it. It's a fantasy film, so it doesn't really matter. And it was loosely fantastical, and then it's conformed to filmmaking of the 80s. Not necessarily the 80s itself, even though you would have like the 80s vehicles and technology and stuff like that. And there were some things that I probably missed in the movie as well. So we could talk about it in a little bit more detail. And once you understand what kind of movie it is, where you have to suspend your relief and ridiculous things will happen, you just have to just let it slide and just say, let's move forward the story. Which you can do that, you're going to be fine. I mean, it's an enjoyable movie. I laughed a lot because some of the stuff was very cheesy, and I thought it was just funny. And I could see that Patty Jenkins was almost poking fun, but not really glorifying the funniness of the time. To me, it was almost like Aquaman, where James Wan was sort of poking fun at some things in Aquaman that were just ridiculous, like the octopus playing the drums. Some people thought it was cool, and then maybe James was just making fun of everything. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this little segment that took about an hour and almost 20 minutes. I have to go out and get something to eat, come back here. I'll catch you guys later. I am Christ, I am disciple. I hope that you guys will have a blessed 2021 in the Lord. And I'm going to catch you guys later. I'm out of here. Peace.